Hi guys, it's Jess here. Welcome back to my channel for my August wrap-up. So let's start with some stats. In the month of August, I read 5 books for a total of 1,721 pages. I had 3 2-star books, 1 4-star, and 1 5-star, so not very bad quality-wise. I read 4 physical books and 1 audiobook in the month of August. And for genres, I had 2 contemporary, 1 historical fiction, and 2 fantasy. The first book I read in the month of August was Super Gifted by Gordon Korman. This is book 2 in the Ungifted duology. In the first book, we follow a boy named Donovan Curtis, who is the troublemaker of his middle school. After pulling his biggest prank ever, he's scared that he has finally gone too far. But due to a mix-up by an administrator, instead of getting in trouble, he gets sent to the Academy of Scholastic Distinction, a special program for gifted and talented students. In this sequel, we actually follow one of the gifted students, but I won't go into too much detail because of spoilers. But overall, this is a fun story about figuring out who you are and realizing that everyone is special no matter what your talent is and how gifted society says you are. So I really loved the first book in this series, but I gave the second book only 2 stars. It was a good story, but I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much as the first. I didn't like the main character at all. I think he did some pretty bad things in the book, and everybody just automatically forgave him for it, and I just kept catching myself continuously having to put the book down because it was just too hard to read what he was doing to everybody around him, and I just really didn't enjoy it. But I would definitely recommend the first book. I think it would have been great just by itself as a standalone. I don't really think they needed to write a second book. So if you're into just like a feel-good story about discovering yourself and how great you are as an individual person, I would definitely recommend Ungifted by Gordon Korman. The next book I read in the month of August was Resistance by Jennifer A. Nielsen. In this book, we follow a girl named Chaya who is a Jew living in Poland. When the Nazis arrive and take her brother and sister away from her, she decides she wants to do something to make a difference. So she becomes a smuggler for the resistance. This is a job that eventually leads her to the Warsaw Ghetto, where there is a large uprising in the works, and her friends kind of have to come together to fight for their lives and for Jews everywhere. I gave this book 2 stars. I liked the idea of the plot, but it just didn't stand out as anything special to me as far as World War II novels go. I also felt like it was one of those books where the main character just gets everything handed to them almost. I feel like every problem that she came up against, the solution just kind of like popped up around the next corner. Like everything was just way too easy for her, and it kind of bothered me a bit. But in the sake of a World War II novel, I mean, it was great content and it's a middle grade, so it's meant for younger readers. It just didn't really click with me, and I just had that issue with everything being way too easy. The third book I read in the month of August is A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. So this is the second book in An Ember in the Ashes series, and I absolutely adore this series. It's a multi-perspective series where we follow Laya, who's a slave girl, and Elias, who is a soldier. When Laya's brother is arrested for treason, she joins the resistance in order to try to save him. However, her paths cross with Elias. Their fates intertwine, and they have to fight the Marshall Empire together in order to get what they both want, which is freedom. So I actually listened to the audiobook for this one, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I highly recommend this series for people who love fantasy. It has epic and gruesome politics and enemies to lovers romance, and I would just die for this romance. You will root for them through every single book. They are amazing. I love the characters. The story, the world that Sabaa Tahir builds is just amazing. It's full of gray morality and just terrible people that you root for, but they're doing terrible things, and then you have the people that are doing the really good things, and it's a great story, and I recommend it for everybody. If you haven't picked it up already, please go pick this series up. So the fourth book I read in the month of August was Daughter of the Siren Queen by Tricia Levenseller. So this is book 2 in the Daughter of the Pirate King duology. And in this series, we follow a girl named Eloza, who's a 17-year-old pirate captain who's a daughter of the Pirate King. She's on a mission to retrieve an ancient hidden map, and to do so, she has to let herself be captured by her enemies. And along the journey, she meets the cute first mate on her enemy's ship named Raiden, and there's an adorable hate-to-love romance that you'll root for through the entire series, and it's just really great. So this particular book in the series, I only gave 4 stars. It was really close to a 5-star mark for me, but it just didn't quite have that right special thing. However, I still do highly recommend this book for anybody that loves fantasy or just a good pirate novel. It's full of witty banter, sword fights, treasure hunts, and like I said, it even has that hate-to-love romance that you will love throughout the entire series. This is also a good book for younger kids as well. I know my little sister, I let her read these books after I finished them, and she absolutely adored them also. So it is good for just multiple age groups also as well. So yeah, I would totally recommend this series if you're a fantasy reader or if you love pirate books. And then the final book I read in the month of August was Popular Vintage Wisdom for the Modern Geek by Maya Van Wagenen. This book is a memoir about the author, Maya Van Wagenen, who finds a self-help book called The 1950s Popularity Guide, written by a former teen model named Betty Cornell. So she decides to start an experiment where she takes one chapter of this self-help book every month and tries to do everything it says, just to see if it'll really make her popular or not. And throughout the book, she discovers and really learns that popularity isn't something that's measured by how you look, what you wear, if you have acne on your face. It's measured based off kindness and how you treat other people. So I personally gave this book 2 stars, but I think the reason that I mainly did that was because it just bored me at parts, which is often the case with anything that's nonfiction. It's why I don't typically read nonfiction. I picked this book up because one of my sisters told me that I should read it, and I read it for her, and it's good as far as a nonfiction novel goes. It just wasn't for me. But if you are a nonfiction reader, I totally recommend this book. I think you would enjoy it if you like high school girl nonfiction. It's a good book. It just wasn't for me personally. So those are the 5 books I read in August. Let me know down in the comments if you have read any of these books and what you thought, and also let me know what books you read in August, because I would love to know what you guys are reading and maybe shoot me some recommendations. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to like and subscribe. I hope you all have a wonderful day. See you soon!